Hello everyone, how are you doing? I hope you guys are doing fine. So this is the beginning of a new semester and we have an entirely brand new paper to study. I think we have had a paper on theory before about cultural theory. Now we are moving on to not so different from cultural theory but quite similar, literary theory. So initially itself I want to give you a basic introduction about what theories are, or why actually we need to learn theories, and how we can actually make the study of theories, literary theories, actually quite interesting because it's very deeply associated with our own personal or social lives. So what actually is theory? What actually is theory? Most of the time when we hear this word theory, our associations are with the scientific disciplines. We do have a lot of theories. We have theories about action and reaction. We have theories about energy conservation. So what is the basic nature of those theories? They apply to different contexts, right? They are replicable in different contexts, and they considered universal. They considered something quite similar to unquestionable laws at times, even though they have been corrected with time. Most of the time when they are in use, they are considered universal laws which are applicable to diverse range of situations, right? So the same equation can resolve a lot of problems. It can be applied to different contexts to find out different values. So this kind of a technical notion about theory. So there is a huge problem when it comes to literary studies, that this kind of a very hard and fast notion of theory is carried into the realm of literary theory also. That is, when we discuss literary theory, when the word theory is associated with literature, the same notion which we rely on to when it comes to the sciences is actually like replicated, which is a very grave mistake, I would say. Because when it comes to the human realm, when it comes to the social realm, we cannot lay hard and fast rules everywhere. We can make observations, of course. We can observe patterns, and we can make deductions on the basis of those observations that these are the reasons why something happened, or these are the ways in which people look at things. So we can definitely make such observations about what is happening in the society or what has been written in a literary text. But are they universal, and are they repeatable and replicable in a diverse range of contexts? No, they do not perform the same way as the scientific theories. Most of the time when we try to analyze literary works using theories, this is the kind of notion that students have. Theory is unquestionable, and when I apply theory to a literary work, there is so much of authority that is there to my reading. So that's not true. To understand this further, we need to look into the evolution of theories. Theories were not conceived as theories initially, but rather as observations about literary works, about the patterns in literary works, observations about patterns in culture, observations about human behavior, observations about human thoughts. It is these observations, when they were able to explain more and more scenarios. These observations sort of gradually gained the status of theory, just like in the sciences. But they're not unquestionable, they're not infallible, they're just one way of looking at things. So imagine that there is you must have seen those colored films, green films and yellow films and red films, which you keep in front of lights so that the light reflected through that is of that color. And if you look at those films, imagine that I'm using a transparent yellow film, everything that I can see would be yellow. If I'm using a green transparent film, everything that is around that I can see through that film would be green or red, depending on the color of the film that I chose. This is quite similar in the case of theories also. Theories are actually ways of looking at life, and if you're analyzing a literary text, then ways of looking at that literary text or analyzing that literary text. A way of explaining something, one way of explaining something, one among many ways of explaining something. So when you find a book and do a Marxian analysis of it, that's not a final reading, and you tend to think that I have used such a popular theory, so this is sort of a very concrete, unquestionable reading. That's not right. So theoreticians were basically people who thought about life a lot and the society around them a lot. So they started making associations. Why could it be this way? Why could people be behaving this way? Or why could be power being distributed so unequally? Why are there gender equalities? So theoreticians were basically people who asked questions against the society, against the prevailing notions in the society. They observed the society and they understood that there are these problems in the society, or there are these patterns in the society, and they deduced some associations, and they made some conclusions from the observation of the society and cultures and literary works. So these observations we can also use in order to analyze different social contexts, cultural entities, literary texts. So these are basically theories. You need not be analyzing probably a literary text to be using theories. You could be looking at an everyday real life situation. You could use some kind of a theory to provide one kind of an answer to that situation, or one kind of a perspective to that situation. Imagine that probably one of your classmates is having trouble attending an online class because he or she does not have proper internet plans. So you start thinking about it. Imagine that you have read Marxian theories. You would understand that even this platform of education, there is a kind of discrimination on the basis of economic affordability. So education, which is supposed to be equal in this new digital era, is actually not equally distributed. But who has the capital to purchase better technologies, better facilities, can actually take more advantage of these learning materials. So just like Marx observed, the world is run by the economy. All the other superstructures like education or human relationships are based on economy. So if you imagine a house where education, arts, everything are probably the top portion of the house, the base structure is that of economy or capital. So this is a very basic situation that you could be going through, but you have used Marxian theory to analyze it. Similarly, all these theoretical concepts that the theoreticians have put forward, you can use them to analyze your life, the things that are happening around. Imagine that you are not allowed to do something that a male member in the society is allowed to do. You can think of it from the feminist perspective. You can use feminist theories. Why is it that my society deprives me of this right which a male member of the society has? So you're using feminist theories there. Or imagine that there are some traditions in your family which you think should have changed, but when you look at it historically, you trace back its history and understand these are the reasons why this custom is followed. So you're using new historicist theories there. So similarly, not just to analyze literary works, theory can be a part and parcel of your life. Or imagine that you went to a government office and you had to probably wait a lot, and suddenly somebody who's very popular in the society comes and he gets to get his things done very easily. Something for which you had to wait for hours, that person could do very easily. So you understand that power is not equally distributed in the society. You might think of it from the concept of power, the theoretical concept of power, which was conceived by Michel Foucault. So similarly, in all kinds of life scenarios, you can use literary theory. It need not just be applied to literature. So when you learn theory, just understand that these are ways of observing life, of making associations and making deductions and conclusions about the life around you, about the society around you, how the asking questions about how this society is functioning. Why is the society functioning this way? Why do people behave in a particular manner? What are the patterns of our culture? All these things you can observe using these theories. And when it comes to literature also, you take up a literary work. A literary work is not just something that you read and enjoy, but rather a literary work is produced by a person who is very much influenced by the society in which he is living. So imagine that you are living in the time of COVID. So when you write a literary work, all those social circumstances that are there would somehow influence your writing, and your writing would actually become a kind of representation of the social conditions out there, consciously or unconsciously. So when somebody comes and analyzes your work, literary work, they're not just analyzing a literary work, but rather they're looking into the social structures which made such a literary work possible. So we will learn a lot of theoretical concepts. We will learn to apply them onto literary works. But I personally would tell you that you will enjoy learning literary theory more if you associate it with your everyday life, everyday context, and try to find some fun in using theoretical concepts in everyday life and explaining things. Why is it this way, or why is this happening this way? What could be the reasons behind this trend in the society? You would be able to find some answers, not a very concrete, very absolute answer, but some answers to why something works in a particular way. So always understand that one theoretical perspective is only one reading of a text, whether it be cultural or social text, but another theoretical perspective can offer a different kind of a reading of the same text. So always be open to more interpretations, more meanings, and don't think of theory as a kind of authoritative force which would justify everything that you say about a text. So in the coming classes, we'll be learning a lot of theoretical concepts. So along with that, we'll be having a lot of fun, playing with theory in our everyday lives. So thank you for listening today, guys. I'll see you in the next class. Take care.